Good afternoon, everyone, from Hashknife Ranch on a snowy March day. We're all here together with Brandon. Hi there, Brandon.
How you doing?
I'm hopeful that you're getting some of this snow over on your side of the divide. What's it like in your country?
I got just barely a skiff of snow this morning. It's cool and the wind's blowing, but I understand Billings or Shepherd, the area where Lisa's at right now, where she's playing school marm, they got about an inch or two this morning, and then it quit. So we're still hopeful we should be getting some more, maybe later this evening and the next day or so. I'm hoping. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, me too. I keep my eye on that snowpack, as I'm sure you do.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And so we love this late spring snow. Bring it on.
We need it. We're only about 80% of snowpack over here. That's
we're
bad.
about 95 in the Bitterroot, but I'd like it up to be 110. I mean,
yes,
yeah,
yes.
Okay. Well, Brandon, I understand that you have a video about the opposite end of the ball night that that you take your girls to every year, and this is when they come home and get to confess up whether whether they had a good time or not.
Well, a productive time. Let's put it that way.
Productive time. A productive time.
A good time can be had, but not so productive.
Yeah, exactly. Well, this is a really important part of ranching. And I'm very interested in the process when you find out whether a cow is pregnant or not pregnant, and what that then precipitates for both groups. Those that
Yeah, no, and this is something you don't have to do. You don't have to preg check your cows, but if you don't, then you don't know when calving season's over, and you don't know which animals need to really leave the place.
Yeah.
It's a diagnostic tool for two good reasons like that, and so we do it. And this year we actually aged these cattle, or the calves. Had the vet tell us about how many days pregnant the cow was, so that we would know, because it was such severe drought, that there were a lot of people that had very, very high rates of open cattle or not pregnant cows. So because of the heat, and we'll see how we did with that.
This is really, you bring up a very interesting point, and that is pregnancy rates as a function of quality of forage. And that drought not only impacts the cow and its condition, but it impacts its ability to carry a calf.
Yeah, especially, they will find feed if they can, and that's up to us to keep feed in front of them when they can't get it themselves, especially in the wintertime. But the high pregnancy rate or low pregnancy rate really is weather dependent, and by that I mean the heat index. If it's really hot, a bull doesn't want to what we call work. As ghastly as that seems, they're kind of a lazy animal. If they got a low libido, then they tend to not breed, but just a few hours in the morning and maybe into the evening when it cools down. And even your high libido bulls, when there's a lot of high temperatures, they just don't want to. They don't want to work, and those cows don't necessarily want to stand. So this last summer was very hot for an extended period of time. So we did something that helps plan for that, or what we do inadvertently takes that into consideration to try to keep a high pregnancy rate.
Wow, there's so much to think of. These are the kinds of things that I would not have thought about, frankly. So I'm interested to see what you're going to show us here with your pregnancy testing, and then let's wrap up on the other side and kind of pursue some of these lines of thought.
Sounds good. Yeah, this was taken. We did this the first part of November, I guess.
Of last year.
Of last year. Yeah.
It's this cows that are going to be birthing soon, right?
Yes, yes. Yeah. I'm just getting ready for that.
That's great. With that, James, would you let it roll?
Oops.
Good morning from the Hashknife.
We've been discovered.
We've been discovered. It's preg test day. Of course, they think that's the prize, and it's really not. It's a cold ultrasound wand, but we're not going to tell them until we get them captured. So, this is looking pretty good. We got everybody moved off the summer pasture and combined with this other little herd we had over here. So, Lisa's now gathering cows with a bucket. We got Braden over there on his pony, and he'll be able to just kind of make a sweep and push everybody this way, but we're gonna see how wild these girls are coming in. Get him into the corral, get the heifers separated, and then here, I got a visitor right here. Hi, sweetheart. And she got a lump jaw. You can see right there, so we got to take a look at that. It's broken drained, but that's a good thing. Anyway, stay tuned with us and see how this goes on a nice, cold, calm morning. It don't get much better than this for preg testing. Yeah, we got the cheapest hired man. He works for food, and the cooker of the food and ranch boss, all over decision maker, and then a bunch of girls. And this is an unusual time for a fella like us, or a couple fellas like us, because this is a day that you hope all of the girls that you have here all are pregnant at one time. That's not normal. So we're going to send them up into the corrals, and we're going to do a sort for those replacements that we know are open, that we did not expose to a bull, and then be ready for the vet. And we give them a little bit of incentive to come in by shaking a bucket of cake. That helps, especially when Lisa and I are by ourselves and need to get them in for some reason. It sure makes it much easier. So now she's got to take that side by side and run it up into the other corral. She might shake that bucket now that they're all pretty much done eating, and maybe entice them into that upper corral where we can work them a little better on foot, a little easier. See, we even have little mean girls here that don't like each other. I'll tell you what, it's like they're all in junior high. Come on, kids. Come on, ladies, let's go. Let's move up. Move up, girls. Come on, hip, 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 hip. Let's go. Let's go. Follow the cake mobile. There you go, come on. Follow Cinderella. Let's go, cow. Let's go, little cow. Come on, hip, hip, hip. Come on. Come on, there we go. Come all peel in there. I know, you're searching for more. There's just no more there. Everybody ate it. Come on, kid. Come on, kid. Let's go. Hip, 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 hip. Come on, cow. Come on, cows. They get smart. Some of these older ones, they kind of know what's going on. Hey, cow, let's go. Hip, 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 hip. Let's go. Come on, girls. Let's go, girls. Come on. Come on, ladies. And we got a couple more over here that... Come on, girls. Let's go. Hip. You guys don't need any special attention. Come on. Ah. Let's go. Let's go. Ah, there you go. Shh, shh, shh. Come on, ears. Figures it's you. Old girl. Old mascot. Come on. Come on. Hip, hip, hip. And here we play ring around the hay bale. They get smart. They will play games. Oh, look at that. Everybody's captured and ready to do a sort. We've got the little open heifers here and separated from these cows, older cows, all the ones that need to be preg tested. Let's get a count on them, Lisa, as they come down, so we know exactly how many the vet needs to count when they do their tally to charge us. And Bray's gonna just bring them on down the alley here.
No, you guys go this way. Thank you.
We'll have them all staged in this lower pen in the alley and waiting for the vet so that he is not wasting his time when they get here. I hate to have a vet wait on me. That is never good. And they're gonna peel all out of there really nice and easy. Boy, you can't ask for much better morning than this.
Come on, honey. Come on.
And we'll get a good count. So it's nice and easy and quiet. No ramming and jamming. All right, we're good there. So we're just gonna let them hang here. We'll let them go up the alley if we want, and we'll go wait for the vet. Lisa's gonna break up a girl fight here, or not. Well, Dr. Jim is here with us again this year, and he's kind of getting set up with his ultrasound wand. And we're going to do, as we stated earlier, a little something different, where we're going to have him age these cattle, these calves. And then we can determine whether these would have been dry if we hadn't kept the wolves on them. Okay. And she apparently is standing there and decided she did not want to have a feed pellet.
I thought she would like
You're
that.
trying to be nice to her, yeah. Holy cow. I believe that's a protest. 98. Really? Never seen you like that before. Jim's gonna take a peek.
She is bred. And she is on over she's over 120 days, because the size of the cotyledons, which is the placental attachment, oh girl, don't strain, that's her bladder.
Yeah, okay.
Those are cotyledons, the round things, and they're over 2 centimeters.
And you can tell it by the squares on our screen
Yeah, each
here.
square is a centimeter. And the calf is way down in, which happens at about 110 days.
All right, so she's good to go.
She is good to go.
Over 100, okay.
Yep. You don't care if I do this, do you?
No, I do not. That would be awesome.
Coming in.
Okay.
99.
Okay.
Big Rhonda.
Big Rhonda's big bread.
Oh, that's a good thing.
That's a good way of thinking.
Yes.
Big Rhonda.
Kind of like this cow.
So do they all have names or just a
No.
special one?
Just a couple of them. Just a couple. You don't name cows. And I
This
try
kind of
my.
happened.
So how many days you
We
got?
don't name cows, but her name's Rhonda.
That's right.
Come on, baby. That a girl. And she was big bred, 120 or so.
Or more. She's another one of those that's so far down in there, and she's a great big cow.
Yeah. Yeah, she's a bigger.
Okay. She is bred well.
You call it well over 100 days?
Yeah,
We got 2 of them in there.
that's all right.
So,
I should have had them put in the longer probe.
84.
That's getting hard to old school there.
Ooh, she's down a long ways down. 110 to 120. She's way down in, and I can just start feeling cotyledons.
Good. Good. Oh, is that right?
Oh,
Is
I
that right?
understand, honey.
It's tough. It's tough.
Is it 56?
This is a nice little cow. There you go.
Over 120. Here is a dry.
Is she?
Yep.
Okay.
Now, how do you want to mark her?
88's dry. Let's just
At all? Or?
yeah, let's go ahead and put a chalk mark on her.
Now, I have told people that are really anal of over 120 about calving and when they're going to calve. I can tell you within 4 days of when they're going to calve. Oh, good. Wednesday.
That'll do it.
I can't. She's definitely bred over 100. I call
Okay.
her 100 to 110.
Okay.
When they go down in front like that and they're a huge cow,
Hard to tell.
everything just goes down inside and
We'll call her about 110 then. Maybe plus 58.
I don't usually have anything to say to somebody about cows being too heavy, but they will raise a bigger calf, they will breed back better. There's a lot of advantages, and I wouldn't get in a great big hurry to change what
Yeah.
you're doing
Okay.
there.
I know I've got some large frame cows and they're not quite as efficient. I get that. Yeah, my
Now,
original thought to
The
that was,
other thing that nobody ever talks about, there's a surface volume ratio. The bigger an animal is, the less surface area per unit of volume.
sure.
So a small cow has more hide and loses heat faster in the wintertime.
Oh.
And so a big cow actually will get by in the winter better.
Okay. I didn't know that.
I didn't know.
So you learn stuff.
110, 120. And there isn't quite the difference in cows, but if we do surgery on a Chihuahua
Yeah.
and say a German Shepherd with no hair coat,
Yeah.
the Chihuahua will lose 10 degrees in temperature on the table.
Just that body.
Just below there.
Wow.
Because he has so much more surface. Now, there's a hell of a difference between a 10-pound dog and a 100-pound
She's
dog
not tough.
versus a 800-pound cow and a 1,200-pound cow. But it's
The older I get, the more I
turn
know.
that on. I feel like I should. Kathy and I just got back from Illinois, and our son's in St. Louis, our daughter's in Illinois, and one night on the TV there was an ad for dry cow. There was an ad for Black Charolais somewhere back there, and Kathy said, "How the hell do they do it?" Well, how they do it is they start with registered Charolais cows, and they just keep breeding them black, and when they get to 7/8,
Then
they're
they-
registered.
Come on, sweetie.
Come on, baby.
I'll give you a treat.
You know what that is.
I won't give you a treat, sweetheart. Come on.
Different kind of treat.
I'm not even going to warm the probe up for
You
you.
have her?
She's gonna be dry, isn't she?
I doubt it.
Is it going to matter?
Yeah.
Come on, come on, come on.
If she'll stand there.
She might.
You want that? I almost had her.
Got half of it.
120 plus.
You bred yours?
Serious.
You're a good girl.
Now,
Okay.
is she old?
She's 11 or 12.
11 years old.
Now, do you keep your heifers?
Yes.
She would be, because she's a little thinner, a good one to run with the heifers. She'll get more feed. She'll teach the heifers how to go through a gate, not to be afraid of people showing up. If you feed the heifers yourself,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. Huh. So she's kind of a damn mascot, is what she is. Get back. Come on, back. Back. Ears. God damn it. Back yourself up.
she said, no, I don't
Back
do
up.
back.
Back up. I don't want you to get hip locked in the damn thing. There we go. Huh. That's interesting because we've never done that, or we've ran,
Well, you
something
wouldn't
loose.
have to do it all winter, but she'll pick up. She'll keep the heifers calm.
Yeah.
She'll teach them if you open a gate to go to the gate to go through. The people showing up aren't bad.
Oh, bad, yeah. Oh yeah, you can't keep her away from you.
Over 110.
Trying to hide it from you.
She's just way big cow way down in there. She might be 150, but she's
Wednesday for
big
sure.
enough. Wednesday for sure. Give or take 4 days.
Are you interested in some soup? Some tortilla soup?
I think I'm going to pass. It's just after 12:30.
Mm.
I got a full afternoon. I appreciate it. How much more vaccine do you want?
I've got, let's see. I've got 20 head here and 30 head, or 10 head here. So 30, right? 14, 16, and yeah, 30 total.
So here is 30.
Okay.
I'll put it right here in this box with a full pack.
There we go.
And you're going to be a little long.
That's okay. That's all right. That works.
You know, there's 2 or 3 there and 2 or 3 there, but
I'd rather be long than too
I'm
short.
going to
So
set that in the shade.
perfect.
And you are set.
Well, we had, minus that one, we can't find, we got 68 head.
Okay.
All right, preg test is done on the cows. So now we've got some of these replacement heifers that we got to bring in and change some ear tags and pull that one out. I think it gets number 150, so we can keep track and keep records of where it came from and then who it is, and anything down below that. We got just a chute full here. We got some more to go, and they are all going to get a wormer and a shot just like the adults. Cut the button off the back of this. There we go. Pull that old ear tag out. Try not to stab myself or anybody else. Tag goes in. Just click. Use the existing hole, and we're good there. And now, a bit of wormer. Goes to her weight, and then a bit of vaccine to protect them from any bugs and ailments. We are done with her. Wanna wait?
No, 8 is 147. And you did the warmer and the shot?
We're good in, no shot.
You open it?
Shot now. Go. No idea.
Okay.
90.
Time to go back out in the pasture. Actually, it's not a pasture. This is just a corral. We're kind of holding these guys in. They're still being weaned. Give them another 30 days, and since they're just recently weaned, and then they can winter with the cows again. You kids. All right. Well, now there's a cleanup. Everybody's out to pasture where they need to be, and we got to just put some stuff away and go eat. It's always the best part of when you're done with this. On a beautiful day like today, man, it doesn't get any better. We haven't fought any cold or any wind, and you can't order it any better. So time to go get some tortilla soup. Looking forward to it. Thanks for coming along.
Brandon, your videos always leave me with lots of questions and lots of comments. I can't help myself. These are very interesting. People were very interested in this, by the way. And I first want to clarify a number of things that people were talking about so I don't forget. It seemed like you were doing three things: the pregnancy test with the sonogram, and then you were also giving them an injection. And it looked like you were injecting them in the lower shoulder. Is that right? Or where were you injecting them? You kept leaning over. We couldn't see exactly where you were.
Yeah, on the cows, the vet was just putting it, it's a subcutaneous injection. So it's a smaller needle. It just goes through the hide, and he was putting it just in front of the shoulder in the neck area.
Okay.
And you can just kind of drive it in at an angle. And that way it's under the skin. It's not intramuscular, although it can be done intramuscular. It doesn't matter. It's a little bit slower acting. It gives longer protection overall when it's subcutaneous, because it just takes longer to get into the system. And then on the smaller ones, those weaned ones, yeah, I was pulling the skin behind the leg out and putting it in there because their neck's a little shorter. It's harder to do it along that chute without it hitting the vaccine gun if they jump forward. So I was just getting it into a spot that's not going to cause a problem for me and for them.
Okay, that was our question, because it seemed like there were at two different locations that it was.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's good observation. Yeah, that's a really good observation.
Okay. And then the wormer was a spray. Is that right?
Well, it kind of, if you squeeze it really hard, you can make it spray, but you kind of drizzle it out and it's almost like a 4 or 5 port dispenser where there's little streams that come out, but it just kind of gives a little wider area to push it or put it on so that you can spray it if you go hard. But generally it just kind of drizzles out, and the little cup underneath just shows the amount per body weight. So you kind of measure about what it is. And there's some of these cows, if they're a little bit bigger, I'll give them the full amount, and then maybe just a little bit, just a tiny little squeeze extra. And that's kind of by feel. That's not really measurable, but there's a pretty broad dosage on that. So it's not really an issue or a danger to overdose them.
Okay. And then I wanted to comment again, every time I see you handling your cattle in your corral area, what a great setup you have created with the panels and with the way you bring the cattle in. It's just sort of a natural flow. Once you get them in that chute, they just go on through, and it's just like an assembly line.
Well, it can always go perfectly, because they could do exactly what they're supposed to do and have their nose at the last one's or the front one's tail, and it isn't quite as good, but it's as good as you can get for that. Now we do have one cow that Braden just hates her. Number 62 is a problem, and she does not want. She's smarter than the rest, so she doesn't want to go up that chute, and so we fight her a little bit. And he goes, "I want to get rid of her," and I'm like, "Well, she produces a good calf. If we're just doing this once or twice a year, we're going to put up with that for the kind of production we get out of her."
Well, that just goes to show you they're individuals, just like horses, just like people. They all have their personalities, for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of thought has to go into the way you set all that up in terms of the width of the chutes, the way the gates open and don't open, and I mean, you've clearly put a lot of thought into that, and that really makes it streamlined as best it can.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right, and believe me, I sketched that out anytime I was going to make a change to these corrals to upgrade them, because it didn't all happen at once. Right. I would sit and I would sketch this out on a piece of paper, how you would want it and what is already there and what you want to change. And you look at, okay, do I want this gate to sit this way? Do I want it to swing all the way through? how can I use this best? And, you'll make that drawing and you go, well, this gate it's nicer here, but if I put it on this other side and swing it this way, I can use it better. And so it's all about knowing what an animal will tolerate, what they like, how they'll move best, and then set your corrals up for that. But at the same time, serving the purpose of what you need to do to get them to move through.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure there's a lot of thought that went into that, and it really pays off. So you have 86 pregnant cows, and you got some dates there. So what's the range in which you expect calving to take place? When do you expect it to start, and when do you expect it to end?
I checked cows this morning, as a matter of fact, at about a little after 2 a.m. As I brought heifers in yesterday, and I separated everybody, which you're going to get a video on that here shortly. So, yeah. So for us, calving season, it's began, but I just don't have any calves yet.
Okay.
So we will be having them shortly, because there's some of these girls that are really close. And there's one thing it just dawned on me. The vet was using that ultrasound wand and getting a diagnostic on a screen, and being able to age that way. And you'll notice when he did that, some of the cows he couldn't do that with, because they either went down or the pregnancy was short enough so far that he couldn't reach it with the wand. And so he had to palpate, by hand, literally by hand, and which is an art in itself, and knowing, the size of the cotyledons, how much is there. But just so folks don't get the wrong impression, he goes through the rectum on these cows, on both the wand and their arm, because you don't want to inadvertently induce any kind of infection into that birth canal or that tract at all. So you'll see sometimes they'll reach an arm in and they'll pull a bunch of manure out, which is it's kind of gross, but you got to be able to get through that stuff so that the wand can be able to see that. But it's all done rectally, and the wand or the ultrasound can certainly pick that up easy. And then they can feel that palpated manually if they have to as well.
I think that's people talked about that. And don't go through the vulva, you go through the rectum, and then you feel through the intestine to the placenta. I mean, you're feeling through an organ to touch the other organ. So
yes,
I would imagine that vets really needed quite a bit of experience to be able to do that efficiently and correctly and be precise.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And it's something it's a skill. It's not something you just, get explained to you and then you can do it. And they can be wrong, even with the manual. And sometimes you'll see them, and we had it happen a couple of times here. I think it was just because he couldn't see because the length of the wand wasn't super long, but sometimes they'll use the wand and not feel or not see anything on the screen. So then they'll do it manually. So they're relying on a manual backup to actually get a better diagnostic at times. They're that good, and then try to age them. But it's an interesting thing when we had one heifer said the vet said she was pregnant and she never calved. And so the next year I thought, okay, well, maybe she just reabsorbed the fetus. Something happened. And so we did it again that following year, and the vet said, yeah, she's pregnant. I said, well, why don't you check this? Because she didn't have a calf last year. And so she manually palpated, and she said, you know what? Her uterus is hard. So she has not got a calf. She's barren. So that was a really good way that was able to tell what was wrong with that cow, not with high technology, and just because of her skill level. So that cow went down the road.
Yeah, very interesting, very interesting. And people have to understand that infection in an open corral area is very different than in a hospital setting. You can't control any of this. So you really have to take those kinds of measures, to make sure that you're not going to introduce something that you'll later regret, for sure.
Correct. Even after the calf is born, these corrals, we calve the heifers in here only because they're first timers, and we'll see some of that, I'm sure, here this spring. But the older cows that have had a calf and have proven that they'll take the calf and everything's going to be all happy and giddy, I let them calve out in the pasture where it's cleaner.
Yeah.
In these corrals, it is dirt and manure, and you can't do anything other than react to the potential for infection. So, and we'll cover that later on too, but it's all reactive. There's nothing much you can do proactively that's going to be really effective to reduce any of infection.
Yeah, that's exactly why when you have a mare that's about to foal, you change all of the straw every day.
or let them foal out in the pasture like we do.
Yeah, or let them
Same
foal
thing.
in the pasture.
But
yeah.
but when you don't have that opportunity, or you don't have the option for that, that's what you have to do. You've got to
I
prepare.
really have to be careful with it.
Yep,
Exactly
that's right.
Yeah. So there was an interesting comment that the vet made that made me think of something, and that was the ratio of surface to volume. There is a rule in wildlife called Bergman's rule, which states that animals are larger the more you go in elevation or in latitude. Right. And it's true, for example, of moose. Moose in Alaska are considerably larger than they are in the lower 48. And it's largely an adaptation to heat loss. You lose less heat if you have a lower surface to volume ratio. And it occurs to me that as the world warms up, this may be an issue that can be a way of adapting in the cattle industry, where you look for cows that have a higher ratio of surface to volume because they will dissipate heat more quickly than cows who have a lower ratio. You know, it's sort of the reverse thing. You're going to want the smaller moose than the larger moose, just because heat dissipates proportionally. And, you know, I had this issue when I was doing some endurance racing with Power. I don't know if you remember Power, but he was a big boy.
Yep.
Yeah, and he would have done well in Alaska, but not so good at dissipating the heat during an endurance race. I would ride with sponges that I would put in any body of water I came by and just throw water all over him from head to toe. Whereas people who were using smaller horses that had a higher surface to volume ratio than I did could get away with a lot more. So I was just curious if that was something that people in the cattle industry had been considering.
Well, you know, it's funny because here I have a mental block about that. I knew about this from, you know, my biological background, but I never put that into domestic stock, into that thought process. And which, when he said that, I was like, oh, I can hear this coming. You know, so, but really, it isn't so much about heat, because you're not necessarily stressing the animal or asking them to perform anything like you would a horse. Yes, it affects them for the daytime heat, for, you know, potential breeding and just stress of summertime heat, but that's for just a short period of time. What you're looking at primarily in size, most people want a moderate sized cow because they don't tend to eat as much. They're more efficient. And so they will have maybe just a little bit smaller calf, but you're weaning that calf at a time where it's really not that relevant and that big of a difference in frame size, meaning, you know, bone structure or structural size, than it is anything else. It's about, you know, how much input you put into this cow versus what you get out of it. You don't want small cows, because then you just don't have a good calf crop or any weight on these animals. But there's a couple of things to this too. The larger the cow, the more blocky looking, or blocky, you know, meaning they're not narrow in the hip or flank, they're thick. Those tend to breed a little bit better and get pregnant a little bit better. So thick, blocky animals tend to winter better, and they tend to breed back better. So it all depends on what you're looking for, what you want, you know. And in our climate here, I like our thick, blocky cows, but they could be a little bit smaller. And And that was my question to him. Basically was, hey, is there anything you're seeing with our cows that you would change or that I could adjust? Because I'm all about learning. You know, you can't learn too late. So I've got them there, and it's like, you know what are you telling me that I don't know, or what I could be looking at? And so that's good to know.
Well, and I think that evolutionarily, I think you're going to see adaptations to global climate change in exactly this regard. I don't know if you have read, but in areas where tusked elephants have been so decimated by poachers, the populations have responded in an evolutionary sense, where the bulls and the females without tusks, and there were very few of them in populations that didn't have tusks. These are African elephants. Are now the ones who have successfully bred. So the incidence of tuskless elephants is increasing as a result of poaching naturally. And I think what you're going to see is, as the northern latitudes increase in heat, is that you are going to again have the smaller animals are going to be better at dissipating a lot of that heat, and they're not going to need the warmth during winter as much. In fact, according to climate scientists, winter is increasing in temperature faster than summer is. So I think there are going to be some changes, some evolutionary changes.
There very well could be. The one thing about that is we've got our hand in that too, from a management standpoint, that we can change that. We can counteract that, and only select the ones, like poachers select the larger tusks. So the only ones that breed back are the ones that don't have the genetics for larger tusks. In a way, that's management, you know, and we can do the same thing with the cows.
They didn't expect the elephants to be able to evolve that quickly, but it did, because there was such a large proportion of the population that had been impacted.
Yeah, and I have to wonder whether it's evolutionarily or whether it is selection, because, like, again, when you're taking out a animal that has the genetics for what, you know, somebody's looking for, and you start and you systematically remove those genetics, the genetics you're going to get back or left over are the ones that are not desirable for these poachers. So I mean, the argument could be made both ways. I don't know. I'm just trying, just trying to be the devil's advocate there about.
Well, no, selection is evolution. That's how evolution works. So you're absolutely right. Is that the ones that were removed because their tusks were big weren't there to breed.
Right.
So the ones that, So I mean, that's how the population adapted without. It's not a conscious thing. It's through the selection process. But I just never had thought about Bergman's rule and how climate change is going to impact, that adaptation. But the fact that your vet brought that up, I thought, even in domestic animals, that's something to think about.
Right. Yeah. No, it's a consideration that, I hadn't put together for, the size of these animals and how they fared. Now, we had, of all of those, we had 2 dries. I think they were both on the film. One was a heifer, which that can happen. You can have first-time heifers that they're just not viable into the population. So the other one was a cow that for the last 2 years has had twins. And I was going to sell her, and Braden stepped in and he said, hey, wait a minute. Let's give her a chance. Maybe we've overtaxed her body. Let her have a year. She doesn't owe us anything, and see if she breeds back. And so, he's got a very good point to that. So we did do that, but that's, you're looking 2% or just a hair over 2%. There were some folks this year that had up to 20 plus 24% dries because of the heat. Yeah, which is devastating.
So, Brandon, I hope that at some point you're going to do a video on breeding. We've got some breeding questions. This is an adult audience, after all.
Well, there's no wine involved with this breeding thing. So, I mean, it's no music, just green grass and birds.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we watch it at the nest every year, so
Yeah.
there you have it. But do you do artificial insemination or do you do pasture breeding?
No, we pasture breed, and which brings me to the kind of the teaser I had at the beginning.
Yeah.
We try to run a ratio of 20 bulls or 20 cows to one bull maximum. A lot of people will run because bulls are expensive and you're feeding them year round. Some people lease their bulls, which I think is crazy, but for other reasons. But some people will run up to 30, 35 head of cows per bull. And so I think the reason we had the lower, dry rate was that I call it saturating our cows.
Right.
We're running right at 20 max for these animals, and we had six bulls for these. So we're about 17 cows per bull this year, and only because I bought 3 bulls from somebody just south of you last year, and that last bull that come through was a pretty good bull, and nobody was bidding on it. I looked at Lisa and it was like, oh, okay, let's do it. So I got an extra bull. Now I'm having to feed that guy expensive hay, but did it pay off because we've got a low dry rate? So
Right.
those are things that you think about, and that's one of the things that we didn't anticipate that would help us out with the heat was we naturally have a very, very low ratio for those bulls to cover cows.
Well, Brandon, this was really, really interesting, and you kept everybody's attention. The one thing I wanted to part with was a shout out to Braden. We see Kaylin more often than we see Braden, and I just wanted to let people know that Braden is a firefighter, forest firefighter for much of the year, and hard, dangerous work. And so he comes home to rest and do ranch work.
Exactly right. That's about right. We joked that Kaylin went to the army to get away from all the hard ranch work, and Braden went to wildlands firefighting to get away from it. And and he's also in the slow time. Then he's an EMT on an ambulance and at the hospital over there in Lewistown. Fact is, he can do everything that a basic EMT can do, and he sent a video home to his mother the other day showing him giving himself an IV for practice.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She cringed. She had to quit watching it.
Okay. Well, give him a shout out from us.
Yeah. He's the shy one of the bunch, actually.
I know, but he's a doll, just like your other son.
Well,
All right, Brandon, thank you so much. Thank you for visiting us every week. We so enjoy your videos, and I know it takes a lot of work on the backside, and I know Kaylin's involved in that, and thank him, and thank Lisa and Braden, and we'll see you next week.
All right. We'll see everybody later, and have a good one.
Thank you. And let's hope for some snow on both sides.
Yes. Let's warm up to 55 or 60 and rain. That'd be just as good.
Okay.
Hey, bye-bye.
Bye.